Welcome everybody to the Latin Nerds Network. My name is Jose and this is my review for Last Night in Soho. This is a movie which I was very excited about, mainly because of the guy behind the camera. Of course, we have Edgar Wright, who I'm a big fan of. I like his previous works, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, Scott Pilgrim. His last film, Baby Driver, was one of my favorite films of that year. He has this very great, unique style that he brings to the table, and I like when these directors kind of go outside the wheelhouse. Right here we have more of a psychological thriller, much darker, edgy film that we used to see in him, so I was very excited to see what he can do with something like that. Now this movie here stars Anya Taylor-Joy, Thomasin McKenzie, both, let me say right now, who are really great in this film here. And it's a movie about this this girl played by Mackenzie, who is just from a very small town. She's aspirations to being a fashion designer, and she gets accepted to go to this fashion school in London. She's very into the 60s vibe. She lives with her grandmother because her mom died when she was little. So she's used to listening to the old school music in the 60s, has the fashion taste and the clothes that she makes for herself are very close to similar to what the 60s styles were. So, but she doesn't really fit in where she's at, right? She is, kind of an outcast to a certain degree. She's a marches to the beat of her own drum, if you will. So she's not really fitting in. So she decides to move out, and she ends up living on her own, rents a room out, which used to be a room by, of course, a girl named Sandy, of course, who's played by Anya Taylor-Joy herself, and who's great in this film, right? Joy, who's coming, it's hot off the heels of something from Queen's Gambit, which is a great series back in Netflix. So kudos to her, and she's captivating. It's hard to take your eyes off her. She's so good in this film, and you can tell she's going to be a big star. She really is, and both girls are really great in this film. But nonetheless, when the girl played with Mackenzie, she goes to sleep. She starts seeing visions of this girl Sandy, right? And she sees her life back in the 60s, and Sandy was an aspiring singer, and she's going to the clubs trying to make a name for herself. And at first, she's very captivated by her. She wants to be like her. She likes her style and how she carries herself. So she starts dressing like she does, just wearing her hair the same way. And in a point where you're not really sure if she's dreaming this, is this real, some kind of reality she's entering? Because to her, she feels like she's living that life that Sandy had. Unfortunately, the more and more she's dreaming of her, or these visions of her, she gets consumed by it, and particularly because a lot of dark things start happening to this girl Sandy. And just to realize that it wasn't what it appeared to be at first. And now she starts seeing these visions when she's even not going to sleep at night, and things are really haunting her. And eventually, I think this part's in the trailers where, Anya Taylor-Joy's character dies, and now she's trying to figure out what happened to her. And again, it consumes every bit of her, and she's kind of descending into madness. So that being said, this is a very interesting premise, and Edgar Wright is you can tell he has great directing chops here. I love how the movie looks. The feel, this world, the 60s that's created, works really well. Like great visuals when they keep showing, as Anya Taylor-Joy goes through the mirror, is actually Mackenzie's character, her reflection. So they're kind of intertwined, if you will. And I thought it was presented really well. Great use of music, which Edgar Wright always does. I love his music in his films, and that's no different here. And from that sense, it's really good filmmaking. But it doesn't go beyond just good filmmaking, right? The story-wise, where I think this movie kind of falters a bit, where I ended up liking the film, I just didn't love it. There's nothing really special, great about it. And I thought there was something there where in the third act that kind of fails them. And I don't want to give away too much, but I thought, based on how the story was going, I thought this movie could have been left ambiguous, which would have drawn more rewatchability, because you're trying to figure out what's happening here. This really just in her head. I mean, we have this unreliable narrator, if you will, played by Mackenzie, so you're not really sure exactly what's real and what's not. And that was really cool in the first 2/3. But in the end, it kind of gave you an ending reveal that was just status quo. And you kind of see it coming. It was kind of a letdown. I think this movie deserves a little bit more than what it gave us. So I was kind of let down by that, unfortunately. It didn't make it a bad film. It's still a well-made film. And I think there's something great that could have been here, particularly with the tone, where it's kind of a mixed bag. He's got some of the same kind of unique comedic stylings that he has in his prior films. Not as much as obviously this Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz or anything like that. But it's there, and there's some good elements of horror, psychological thriller elements, but he doesn't really lean on them as much as I thought he could have, and really give us something really dark and gritty. It's still dark and it's still heavy, just not enough to where I can say it made it really stand out. And to be honest, it's probably my least favorite of his films, and it's not one I don't see myself really rewatching for the most part. But it's still well made. It's still good enough. And if you're a fan of filmmaking, you like Edgar Wright, I'll still recommend this film. Not saying go to rush out to the theaters and watch it, but there's enough there to enjoy. It's just the ending just really kind of left things a little bit flatter than what I wanted to see from the film, at least for me personally. Not that it's bad, it's just, again, derivative of many things we've seen before. So it doesn't bring nothing new. And after, again, I thought leaving something more ambiguous, really descend into madness with Mackenzie's characters, what she's going through, and explore that more. I thought that was kind of a missed opportunity. But again, still a good film. I still recommend you guys watching it, whether it be at home and all that, at least give it a shot. Again, good, not great. That being said, Last Night in Soho, you guys are going to check it out. If you do, comment below, let me know what you guys thought. And of course, as always, subscribe below and feed money to go to the movies and talk about afterwards. See you guys next time.